All right. Well, we got one more, and it is The King of Staten Island.
Yeah.
Um, it is a Judd Apatow film. It's probably going to be the most well-known of the ones we're doing today because it has Pete Davidson of SNL fame, also dating Ariana Grande fame. Um, Marissa Tomei's in it. Bill Burr, who I love, purely for his stand-up, but he's an all-right actor. But anyway, I'll get to that. And Steve Buscemi's in it. It
Oh
was
yeah, he is, like, very briefly, but he
Well,
is.
yeah, but he can't. You can't not mention the fact that Steve Buscemi's in the film. It's
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi. I
Yeah,
mean,
true.
what a guy. But yeah, it was written by Apatow and Davidson, and essentially the story is that this character that Davidson plays loses his fireman father in a hotel fire, which leaves him sort of stunted as far as maturing and becoming a respectable member of society, I suppose. And but I don't know how much later it is, but his mum, Marissa Tomei, begins dating a firefighter, which sort of brings up a lot of this trauma and non-acceptance of what's happened to his own family, and sort of goes from there. And it was only because I looked into it a lot before watching it that I discovered that Pete Davidson's dad was a fireman that did die in 9/11.
It's largely biographical,
Mm.
actually. I mean, there are obviously lots of creative freedoms, but I think, it's a typical Apatow production in the way that he's worked very closely with the cast in creating this thing, and I think it's been something that they wanted to make together, which is like a lot of it is based on Pete Davidson's life.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think it's almost good that they didn't go for the direct replica of his own experiences. If it was the 9/11 situation, I feel like taking it out of that a bit makes it 9/11's a very difficult thing to do properly,
Yeah,
and I think they made the right choice in changing the scenario a bit.
yeah, and you have to remember they're making a film for a larger audience, and I think Pete Davidson, and although I don't really know him that well from his stand-up, I think he's probably on the edgier side of the comedy stuff, which perhaps his stand-up is definitely sign up for, but maybe a larger cinema audience is, yeah, a little bit
Yeah.
tentative about getting into.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I liked most about it, was after reading all that, was the authenticity of it. It turns out that his real life dad's best friend who was also a firefighter, was sort of the reference for to get everything right, make it legitimately look like real firefighters.
Okay.
And he was one of the firefighters in the film as well, which I wouldn't have known if I hadn't read about it. And Buscemi's got his own firefighting. He was a firefighter. He volunteered during 9/11 as well.
Yeah.
So you can tell they've put a lot of effort and thought into making it as respectable and legitimate as they could, which I really enjoyed learning about.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing with it. I didn't find it overly funny, but then
Yeah.
I found the touching parts, again, probably more because I knew the backstory, I did find quite poignant and did strike a chord. And
Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed it for that, but then it wasn't as funny as I would have hoped it was.
Yeah, and like for me, it was good. It had some really meaningful things. I thought Pete Davidson delivered his role really well. Although, again, it's like, was he even really acting that much, or is this just kind of how he is? And I think that's the thing about like Apatow films, is sometimes it can feel a bit of a bro out. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
he's just getting his mates around for a few drinks, and then they're just going to get this. Ignore the crew. My parents are away. They'll just sort you out. Like. And so it's just like, well, we're gonna smoke some weed and we're gonna make some really good, funny jokes, and we'll keep the cameras rolling,
Yeah.
And that was kind of what I got a little bit from it, because I didn't realize the film. I thought it was like lagging on a bit. The film's 138 minutes.
Yeah, I
And-
did write that down in my
and
notes. It is too long.
It's so long.
Yeah.
I thought it could have been an hour shorter.
But then, do you know, maybe that was kind of the thing, is that if an editor had said, look, can we cut this bit out, and it had a personal meaning to someone involved, or like this scene, it might have been something that actually happened with his dad, or something that they wanted to get in.
Yeah.
So it would have been hard to be like, well, it can probably get cut out. But then if it has a personal story behind it, it's a lot harder to cut them
Yeah.
out. Which I'm not like it should be shorter, 100%, but you can see why they might have struggled to cut certain things out.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, though, you've kind of got to accept certain things when you're making a film, and you've got to say, okay, yeah, I know that we're trying to keep this quite sensitive and like keep everything on message, and we want to do as much to represent the story as possible. But you also have to realize that you're making a film, and like no film is made better by being overly generous with the edit.
Tarantino.
Yeah,
Sorry.
basically. Like, yeah, if he had an editor, his films would be so much. Well, if he had an editor that voiced their opinions a bit more, his films would be better.
Well, that's the
And I
thing.
feel like the same here.
You look at his Tarantino. Sorry to go on a tangent here, but you look at his editors, and he's worked with so many great editors, but he just has the final say, and I'm not
He's a
going to
bit
go
intimidating.
I'm
maybe.
going to stop this Tarantino rant because I could do that for days.
Yeah,
But yeah, I enjoyed it, but I'm more for the touching authenticity of it rather than the Apatow comedy.
yeah. I think that's a good thing to leave it on. So let's do the scores for that.
You can go first if you
I
like.
gave it a 6 out of 10.
We've agreed on a score.